The last part of our design is going to be creating a deck plan. So we have a deck out here, a patio area, a concrete slab, and this deck cover. So we'll go ahead and get into showing you how we would create this exterior landscape and deck plan. So let's minimize our image, and we're going to change out of our layer set into our default layer set, and we'll move back into the back of the house here. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start by defining the deck space, and we're going to go up to our tool here for our railings, and we're going to do a straight deck railing. And I'm going to come to this corner here, and I have a 2-foot jog that comes out here. While I'm drawing this wall, if I hit the tab key before I release my mouse, I'm going to get a dialog box that allows me to plug in the length of that wall. That's just a little trick for you. And I can highlight that number and put in a -24 on the x-axis is going to move the wall 24 inches or make the length of the wall 24 inches out to the left. We'll click OK. So now I have a 24-inch deck railing out that way. I'm going to pull it out roughly to about 17 feet. I'm going to pull this over to about 11 feet and then down. And while I have that before I make the last connection here, I'm going to do a quick dimension. So I'm going to grab this dimension and clean it up to 17 feet. And then I'd like to select this wall here and make that 11 feet even. So with that wall selected, I'm going to click on its dimension, and we're going to clean that dimension up to 11 feet. And we want to control what end of the wall is going to move and what end will lock. So I want this wall to shrink going this way, and I want this end to be stationary. So if we choose this in the dialog, it'll lock the left side and alter the right to get to the dimension that we want it to be. So with 11 feet in there, I hit the enter key, and it's moved this over to be exactly my 11 feet. And this right here is going to be a 45, and we have our angle snap, so we can easily get our 45, and that will snap by default in 7.5 degree increments. And as I come down here with my wall, I'll draw that out about where I want it to go, and then I'll need to get in my railing tool. I'll draw this wall out here, and we'll just make sure that connects over and that all seamlessly connected together. Now let's pull a 3D view and see what we have so far. This time I'm going to do a perspective full overview that will give us the outside of the house with the roof and everything, and we'll rotate this around here. The first thing we'll notice is that, of course, our deck's been built, and we have that solid railing that goes all the way around. We already have our deck posts and the footings in there. The footings are reaching down because we don't have a terrain. It's just gone down, and once we add a terrain in here, it'll adjust the height of the piers. There are some parameters for controlling the deck support. If we click and select this deck room, double click on that area, it'll bring us into the specification for our deck. In our deck panel, we can deal with our planking. What's the plank overhang, the plank width, the gap? Do we want angled planks? Do we want border planks? Down here we can deal with specifying the deck joists, the on-center spacing, and so forth. Deck support, this is where we can plug in a beam spacing number and then a post spacing number as well, and an offset from end if you'd like that to offset in from the edge of the deck. Deck posts and footings, height above the terrain to the top of the footing, what the thickness and the width is of those deck footings, whether they're square or round. Also, you can specify rebar as well. So we'll stick with the defaults that we have here. That's fine for the purposes of this. And what we're going to do now is add in a terrain. So we're going to go into our terrain drop down and create a terrain perimeter. We haven't done that yet in this plan. So that has created a terrain, and now you can see our deck posts have adjusted to the height of our default terrain. I would like to specify the height of my terrain because I know where my grade is versus our finished floor, so I'd like to plug that value in here. So I'm double clicking on my terrain, and rather than automatically calculating the elevation of that, I know that my terrain, the subfloor is 24 inches above my terrain, so I'm just going to type in 24 inches as my value there, and that will drop my terrain down a little bit to where it is in the actual as-built. So a couple of modifications that we want to make. Let's revisit our image here very quickly. So we'd like to have this mitered stair put in here, and we don't have any deck railing going across this area, so let's go ahead and get that put into place. I'm going to tile my view here, Shift F6 on my keyboard, and that will tile my view. There we go. And we'll zoom in a little bit on this side. So what we'll do in our plan view is we're going to group select these two railings, so holding the shift key down and clicking on both of those railings. I'm going to go down to the bottom and open them up, and instead of being a railing, we're going to make those invisible, and that will turn off the railing status on there and just make that the deck edge. Now we'd like to add some stairs in there, so up to our stair tool. We've already visited how our stairs operate earlier in our demo. I'm going to use our one-click stair tool so that we can just drop a set of stairs over here. I want to click right on the outside edge of the deck to get that stair put in, and over here again we'll drop in a set of stairs, clicking on the outside edge of the deck, and this stair will just zoom in a little bit on here and drag that out to the corner, and then we'll drag this end out to this corner as well, and then we'll select this stair and pull that right over so it bumps up to our stair on that side, and then we'll move that over and drag our stair right out to the edge here. So now we have our mitered stair put in there. The next thing we want to add is our patio. That's going to be our concrete slab or patio that'll be for our landing on the stairs. So we'll zoom out a little bit here, and I'm going to go and grab under our slab tool, just grab the generic slab tool, and I'm going to start in this corner. I'll get a visual snap and drag this up in this direction. That looks like about the general size that I'd like. And you'll notice in our view over here that it's placed the slab at the level of my platform. So let's open up that slab and change the elevation of that. We know that the elevation of our terrain is 24, so let's make the top of the slab minus 23.5, and that'll give us about a ½ inch of the slab above our grass. That will work for me okay. So we'll have a little ½ inch raise in our slab above the grass level or terrain level. So we want to alter the shape of this slab that we're putting in here. I'd like to have some nice arcs and radius going around. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to alter the shape. We don't want the concrete slab to go out in that area. We want to clip this off. So I'm going to grab our break tool, and we can hit the number 3 on our keyboard to put a break in there. We're going to snap that right on into that junction, and then grab this corner and pull that right up and snap that right into that corner as well. And then I want to put in a couple of other breaks. We'll drop a break in here, and hitting the 3 on my keyboard, drop another break in here. And now I'd like to put some arcs, change line to arc in this area. So I'm going to select this line, change it to an arc, select this line, change it to an arc. I'm just going to go right around and click on all these edges and change them all over into an arc. And once I've done that, now I can start to play with and get a nice design of what I'd like the shape of this to be. So I'm going to pull this out a little bit to here, and we use these triangles to resize. So I'm clicking on that triangle, and if you hold the control key, it gives you a little bit more flexibility in moving that around. So I'm liking that. This triangle here, I'll pull that down maybe to here, and this one I'll pull up a little bit, and this one will just slope right over, and that's looking like a decent shape. So we can play around with those with that shape, dial that in exactly how you'd like, and I think that looks pretty good for what we're after in this particular plan. Okay, so I think the next thing we'll want to do is add in our patio or deck cover. And I've created this deck cover. I've used it in another plan, so I've used that architectural block tool, or you can, if it's existing in a plan, we can just go in and pull that over. So I'm just going to pull over the plan that I've created that deck cover for a client. This is the deck cover that I'd like. So I'm just going to do a highlight around it and click edit and copy, and I'll just close that plan. We don't need it anymore. And in this plan, we're going to do an edit, paste, and we'll paste that right down in. So we have that pasted in. It looks like it pasted right in about where I'd like it to go. So I don't need to reposition that. And let's open up our 3D view and take a look at things here. So that's looking pretty good. Zoom around and make sure its position looks okay, and I think that works pretty well. Now we'll clean up some of the colors that we have here. I'll open up our library catalog for the user catalog, and in this folder I have a color saved. I'd like to do a stained concrete, so I'll click on this color, and I'm going to blend the color into the material, that concrete material. So if we turn that off, I'll add that on as a solid paint. If we'd like to have that texture of the concrete show through, we can turn on that blend color with material, and that will add that as a stain to the concrete. And then we'll use this redwood deck stain in here, and I'm going to select that and drop that down onto our deck. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Also add that down into our stair treads, and then I'm going to use our eyedropper tool up top and activate that, and I'm going to pull up the color and material texture that's on our rim here, or the skirt board, and we're going to add that on to our stair so that those match as well. Okay, and then the final thing that will match color wise is I'd like to match our stain that we have on this deck cover, perhaps with our railing. So we'll zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to use that eyedropper tool again. We'll pull up the color from this and click on our post and rails. We'll do that on this one as well, post and rails, and on our post and rails over here. Okay. Alright, so let's get back into our plan view here, because I'd like to add some landscaping into our plan. So I'm going to get into our plan view, and when I created my terrain, you'd probably want to go in here and edit your terrain and create a plot plan. I'm just going to pull out our terrain a little bit here to give us a little bit more room for our landscape, and you can easily dimension this to your actual lot, put your setbacks in terms of the lot line to the building and so forth using your dimensions. I have some terrain that I've grouped together for this. I've just called it landscape, and again, this is an example of using architectural blocks where we group a bunch of landscaping together. We click on it in the library here, and then we can click into our plan to drop that down. and then with it selected I can move it over and place it right in next to my plan. So we'll just drop that in somewhere around there. And let's get back into our 3D camera view, and now we can see our terrain has been added there, or our landscape plants. Now the one final thing I wanted to show that is a real neat feature in Chief Architect is if you have a site that you can go out and take a picture of, and you want to show the client what the building is going to look like with the actual backdrop of what's on their property. You can do that, and in fact Chief Architect has several backdrops that you can add in. I'm just going to go into our catalog here for backdrops and give you an example of how this would work. I'm going to go into our land, and we'll go into flat, and I'm just going to select a landscape that I like here. Let's see, I think that looks like it might work okay. So if you go and take a digital picture of what's existing either as a view out the back or the front of the property, you can take that with your digital camera, import it into Chief Architect as a backdrop, and then select that image and then drop it right into your plan, and it will show that backdrop right into your plan. So we'll drop this down a little bit just to give you an idea of what that might look like. So there's the backdrop from that image in there. Okay, well I think that wraps up our design part of our presentation. So the final segment of our remodeling project here is going to focus in on creating construction documents. Now that we've done all of our design work and we've created this 3D model, it becomes very easy for us to generate construction drawings. You're simply creating views from your 3D model and plan that you've done in Chief Architect and sending those views out to layout pages such as the ones you see on your screen here. So join us for the next segment on construction documents.